So the three things that people want to know about a heat pump is it noisy? How much does it cost to run? And are we staying warm?
Yeah.
Is that essentially it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that my intro?
I don't know, do you want it to be?
That's totally fine.
Okay.
Sorry, did I need it to be more pizzazzy?
No, that's fine.
With jazz hands.
So why don't we start with number one then? Is it comfortable? Or in other words, does it keep us warm? Do you feel the cold much?
Yes, so I feel the cold always. Being little of excess stores.
Very slight, yeah.
I feel the cold.
Yeah.
I have really poor circulation, so I get cold hands and feet all the time. We've always, I think our entire married life, we've always set the thermostat to nothing above 19, despite my best efforts. Or did we set it higher when we first got married?
When you complain, I would bump it up to 20, occasionally 21. But yeah, you'd always be complaining. So
yeah, I'd be like sitting around with a jumper and a coat and a scarf sometimes.
Yeah, you really feel the cold, and in contrast, I'd be in shorts and t-shirt in that same temperature.
Yeah, but not because you're tubby.
No, but it illustrates the contrast between what people feel comfortable with. So typically, yes, 19 degrees is what we've always set our timers to, our smart thermostat. Of course, we have a setback temperature overnight that is lower and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, 19 degrees, yeah.
Yeah, so we still have it set to 19 degrees, and I feel like in our home it doesn't feel cold anymore. Like, we go out for a walk, we come back in, and it's just like, oh, a lovely warm home. And do you know what? So a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago, you bought me an electric blanket, and I thought, oh, it's winter time, it's getting really cold. So I put the electric blanket on the bed. I've hardly used it this year because actually I've been so much warmer. It's only when I'm like sitting in the office and working away quite late, my feet get really, really cold, that I'm like, I have to get into the bed and have to turn it on. But our home just feels consistently warmer, like the walls feel warmer. Just every room, there's like a more consistent level of warmth. I'm still generally walking around with a jumper on, unlike you, in shorts and t-shirt. Yeah, I'm the only one in the family that is walking around with shorts and with a jumper on majority of the time.
And trousers.
So yeah, does that answer that question?
Yeah.
We've got it set to 19.
So you're finding it more comfortable than we've ever had before, both in this house and our previous house.
Yes.
So it feels warmer, even though by scientific measurements, wow.
It's scientific, was it?
Well, maybe there's a caveat here. So by the measurement of the thermostat, it is no warmer or cooler than it was before. It's the same temperature, but the perceived warmth is greater.
Well, also because like our radiators never get stone cold anymore. It works differently. So before in our previous home, we had a combi boiler. So we wouldn't have the heating on all the time, because that's not the advice of having a combi boiler, is that you turn on the radiators and then you turn them off. Then when we moved into this house, and we had an old, what's it called?
Just a non-condensing old boiler.
Yes, an old boiler. And again, the advice for running a boiler like that is that you have it on or off. You don't consistently have it running, it's not economically viable. Whereas having a heat pump, the most economical way to run it is to constantly have it kind of bubbling away. So our radiators are never stone cold. And that residual kind of, is it residual? Would you say residual? It's got that residual heat just still kind of flowing throughout the home. So the radiators are never boiling hot, they're never stone cold, they're just, majority of the time they're tepid for us.
Yeah. Well, let's let's explore a couple of those things. So you say residual heat. Some people talk about the thermal mass, like literally our leather sofa is not cold to sit on anymore, things like that. When you rest your arms on the dining table, it doesn't feel cold. And that kind of conduction heat, where you're touching something that's conducted directly into your skin, it has a greater effect than the what's it called? The convection currents, the air
the transfer of energy.
Yeah. And so we know that radiators in a house, that 70+% of the normal, traditional radiators, 70+% of the heat is taken from the radiator through the convection currents into the air, and probably around 30% is like direct radiant heat, where it's literally being pushed from, in the same way that you sit in front of a fire.
Yeah.
But now we have, through the thermal mass of the building, we do have radiant heat in things like our desks that we sit at, our chairs that we sit in, even the very fabric of like curtains and carpets. And weirdly, the thing that I've noticed quite a lot is the tiled floor in the kitchen doesn't get as cold as it would before. It typically was very uncomfortable to walk on in just socks.
Well, I haven't noticed. I wear slippers.
Yeah, but if you're wearing slippers, you wouldn't notice much difference. But if you walk in there in socks now, it's weird that it's even managed to increase the kind of base temperature of the slab in the kitchen and the tiles, like things like that. So it's that steady state heating. Have you noticed that if someone opens the front door, the whole house doesn't like drop in temperature?
I haven't, because I'm always like, shut the door.
Yeah, well, I know we're in good habits, so it's not like a major issue for us. But I've been noticing that previously, if the door was open for a minute or two while someone's at the door, or you're trying to get things in and out or whatever, the thermostat is still in the same place, by the way, the new one and the old one, but the temperature could quickly drop by 0.5 degree or 1 degree in wintertime, no problem at all.
Just opening the door.
Just by having the door open, bringing shopping in and out, talking to someone, whatever. And I'm guessing that's because the vast majority of the thermal mass in our house was all in the air. So we'd open the door, all the hot air would escape, and then the boiler would be triggered, and the boiler would then be firing, 1,000,000% to bring the house back up to temperature. But the heat pump doesn't ever do that, or ever have to do that. I was looking at it because we had a house guest last weekend, and the door was open for a while getting stuff in and out. Sorry, I don't think he watches these videos, so no, this is not a dig at anyone, but I was having a look to see how much the temperature had actually dropped, and even though I think the door was open for like a good 10 minutes, do you know how much the temperature dropped by? 0.1 degrees over 10 minutes.
Oh wow.
Which I thought was really interesting. Like, that was a lot of airflow.
There's me being like, shut the door.
I know, yeah. There's a lot of airflow, but the thermal mass is still managing to like act as a stabilizer for that, a buffer. It's like a capacitor in storing the heat energy, the whole house, everything. Another point that maybe directly or indirectly you're talking about is like the consistent heat, not just in like temperature fluctuations, like you're talking about the time, so it's consistently warm throughout the day, but also different parts of the house, and specifically different parts of different rooms. There are no hot and cold pockets in our house anymore. It is a consistent temperature, and that adds to the comfort because your body isn't constantly going from hot to cold to cold to hot. It's your body just adapts, I guess, and feels comfortable in that consistent temperature at any spot in any room. So do you want to talk about drying clothes?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, that was a bit too exciting. So.
Oh, you're really getting into this YouTube. Oh yeah, let's talk about drying clothes.
Okay, so we've got a tumble dryer, we've got a condenser tumble dryer.
Heat pump tumble dryer.
Sorry,
It's
heat pump.
second heat pump in our house after a fridge. So we've got 3 heat pumps in the house now.
So often I would be, I would much prefer air drying clothes. It's better for the environment and the clothes just smell nicer than tumble drying them, and longevity of clothes and things like that. But, you know, we bought a tumble dryer, you know, after our first child was born, about a year into that, realising that clothes just weren't drying in our home. And even like when we moved into this house, I would try and, like, you know, hang stuff up in the house because I prefer it. But it was just, you know, jeans, they're going to take literally a week to dry. Hoodies are going to take 5 days to dry. They're going to take forever. But now I can hang up, you know, a load of laundry in the home, and where I would, you know, I can hang it up kind of like it in the morning, and then maybe by the following morning it'll be dry. Maybe that doesn't sound that great, but it is winter. So that's on winter standards. If it was summertime, totally different story, isn't it? But I could not kind of let stuff dry because it would end up being all fousty and like damp smelling, and it still wasn't even dry, and it would have to go into the tumble dryer. So we're actually saving a lot more energy by being able to dry stuff just in the home.
We haven't really factored in that as an extra financial saving. I know what people are going to be screaming at the camera, and no doubt they're tapping away on their keyboards right now. Don't dry clothes in the house because you'll get trapped moisture, and then you'll get damp, and you'll get mold, and you'll have condensation issues and stuff. What do you say to those people? That's
what we were absolutely experiencing before. So in the conservatory, as you're well aware of, we recently insulated it, and I'd hoped that would solve some of our like condensation issues and problems like that. But I was still, you know, we were getting all that nasty black mold building up around the conservatory, and I was having to wipe it up and clean it, and it was just a never-ending task. I can tell you, since this winter, since the heat pump got installed, was it November?
Yeah.
I have not had to wipe down mould in the conservatory, and I am drying our clothes in the conservatory. There's no condensation. We would get it from, like, because our conservatory is connected to the kitchen, it would be condensation building up from cooking and also from trying to dry clothes. And because we have the tumble dryer in that room as well, and although it's a condenser, it's still going to release some element of moisture into the environment as well anyway. So we were having that build up, and I was wiping down. You know, I probably needed to do it more than a weekly basis. Not that I did, because I work full time. So yeah, it was just unsustainable to be able to do that. We have not had that since the heat pump has been installed. I haven't had to wipe it down. I think I've said that twice, for emphasis, clearly.
Yeah. So the conservatory is an extreme example. Have you noticed the difference in the bedrooms?
Yes. So again, we had a build up in the boys' bedrooms.
This is not heat pump, this is on the gas boilers.
Yeah, prior to the heat pump. And we hadn't really noticed because I'm mostly out of the house before the boys have like opened their curtains and probably gotten up for the day. And so it would be at weekends that I'd be like, what on earth has happened? There was all that condensation building up. We were getting that black mould in the corners around their windows. We just had to remind the boys to make sure that they opened up their curtains fully. We were getting it in our bedroom even as well.
And just so viewers at home know, we do have triple glazing, we've got trickle vents, and I have them firmly wedged open in every room. So there is air circulation, and that probably helps with dispelling the moisture that's coming from drying the clothes in the home, I guess. Also probably the fact that we dry the clothes typically on the drying racks out by the conservatory, and in the kitchen we've got an open cooker hood because we used to have a gas cooker. I'll be interested when I change that to a flapper hood for our induction hob, and that kind of air seals the kitchen a little bit better. I'll be interested to see if we do reintroduce any more moisture issues, and if we have to then, prop open the flapper vent a little bit, or we have to account for that in some way. But quite frankly, I've been shocked at how much lower the moisture level is in our house. We used to average the humidity measured inside the house used to average around 60 to. It used to average over 60% anyway.
And
I
wasn't even drying clothes because it was fruitless.
Yeah, that was just us living in the home, and that was.
And we have extractor fans as well in the shower and in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. And this is not just a moisture humidity sensor just in a bathroom or a kitchen. That's the average measurement in the living room, which connects in the hallway and everything. So now our typical reading is we're mostly in the 50s for humidity. Occasionally we're down in the 40s, so we're in the 40s or 50s. I've never seen it below 61, 62%. So let's wrap up. A quick summary on the comfort and keeping warm. You feel warmer than ever?
Well, it's not summertime.
Well, no. For our house in wintertime, you've never been so warm. Our house guests have complained about how hot it is. You're able to dry clothes, no issues there. We're not experiencing any moisture issues, and we're really benefiting from the whole thermal mass and the low and slow heating, steady state heating approach. It really has been quite transformational, and it's weird to describe as well, because like you say, most of the time the radiators are just tepid. It's like they barely feel warm most of the time, but the house, as long as the radiators are warmer than the air temperature, they're keeping it warm. So even if the radiators are at 23 degrees or 25 degrees, it's still keeping the house plenty warm. Anyway, now the question is going to be, the haters and the critics are going to be out there and saying, this all sounds well and good, a warmer, more comfortable home, no hot and cold spots, lowering your humidity, being able to keep the house warm 24 hours a day, but that's going to come at a price.
Yeah, I was going to say, it must cost you more.
What are you sacrificing to get there? So what about running costs?
Well, this is where you're going to have to answer, because I don't really pay attention.